Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about the importance of this field hearing that's going to be going on in Pensacola.
Well, it's critically important. We've been working with our colleagues in multiple states in the Gulf region to come up with a bill, to come up with a piece of legislation, a law, that allows us to disperse the fine money that British Petroleum is going to be paying because of the oil spill. So it's important that we hear from folks in the Gulf region to fully understand not just the impact that it's had, but to make sure that the formula that we come up with in this bill is fair to Florida and to all the states that have been impacted by the Gulf oil spill.
Why didn't the government see fit to do this earlier when people were in the middle of losing their homes and losing their businesses?
Well, I think that's a very good question. You know, obviously I've only been here since January, so I can only speak to what's happened since then. I think going back there, we've learned, I hope, the federal government's learned a lot of lessons about how this disaster was responded to, and clearly for some people that's terrible news because we didn't get, help didn't get to them in time, and they've had to move and close their businesses, and lives have been disrupted. But moving forward, we want to make sure we get it right, and I hope this legislation and this field hearing will be the beginning of that process.
Tell me, who is going to be here for this field hearing?
Well, so far it's largely going to be to hear from the public. So we're going to put a panel together. We're still composing that. I know I'm going to be there. I believe the Lieutenant Governor of Florida is going to be there. I know we're trying to work with Senator Nelson's schedule. Hopefully he'll be able to come, and maybe some of our colleagues from the other Gulf states as well. But I'll certainly be there. My staff will certainly be there. And really it's about public input. We want to hear from the public. We're not there to talk. We're there to listen, and we hope to get real good input on what conditions are like and here a year and a couple months after the spill.
Okay, things tend to work kind of slowly up in Washington, as we know down here. How quickly do you think people might see results from what they're going to tell you during the hearing?
Well, I wish I could be optimistic about that. The Senate tends to move very slow, and more so this year than in years past. I mean, it's taken forever just to get some sort of agreement on the law, and then of course the process working it, and that's just not good news for people back home, and I understand that. So I don't want to make promises on a timeline that I don't control, and quite frankly I can't predict. I can tell you that we understand, at least I do, and I think most of my colleagues do, the urgency of it and how important it is that we can get assistance to enough people quickly enough, in the hopes they'll be able to stay in business and continue to live in our state.
Do you have any particular focuses in mind, like the tourism industry, fishing industry, anything like that?
Well, they're all interrelated. I mean, clearly the tourism industry suffered terribly, first from a recession, and then in the summer where we were supposed to begin recovering from the downturn in the economy, the oil spill happened. So some of that is just, it's not just one bad year, it's an accumulation of bad years, and that all came to a head. And of course, from the fishing industry's perspective, it wasn't just the spill. Of course, they're dealing with all kinds of regulatory issues on catch limits and things like that have created a tremendous amount of uncertainty, particularly for the fishing, the boat captains, that has hurt them as well. So it's not just the oil spill. The oil spill, unfortunately, is one of a litany of other things that have negatively impacted both of them. I think they're actually interrelated, tourism and fishing and other things like that, and I think they both need to be looked at in conjunction. So I think you bring up the two key areas that I'm concerned about, and then I think we'll hear from local governments as well, who had to shoulder a lot of the burden of what happened. But our key is economic development. We want to get the region's economy going again, and we think the fine money should go towards that.
How much fine money are you talking about?
Well, I don't think a final number has been nailed down yet, but it'll be in the billions, and I hope for Florida it'll be in the billions as well. It's one of the negotiating pieces. We want to make sure that the formula that's arrived at is fair, and that means it doesn't overly advantage Florida, at the expense of other states, but it's fair to Florida. We want to make sure that Florida, which suffered just about as much as any state other than Louisiana, gets its fair share in the way the fine money is distributed, and that's what we're working on right now.
And Alabama as well.
Certainly Alabama's in the mix. Very well represented here by your two senators, Sessions and Shelby, and they've been working very hard, especially Senator Shelby, on this piece of legislation. So clearly Alabama's been negatively impacted, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas, and these are the states we've been working with.
All right, Senator Marco Rubio, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.